the bloodwood and the desert oak, holding wrecks and boiling diesels, steaming 45 degrees. The time has come to save fair's fair, to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come, a fact's a fact, it belongs to them, let's give it back. How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent now, to pay our share. Before we'll scare the cockatoos from Kentar East to Yondabu, the western desert lives and breathes in 45 degrees. The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come, a fact's a fact. Let's give it back. How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? The time has come to say fair's fair, to pay the rent now, to pay our share. The time has come, a fact's a fact, it belongs to them, we're gonna give it back. How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning?
G'day, how are you? How the devil bloody well are you? I'm gonna butcher the Australian accent in many ways this afternoon. Whether it's like Sydney or wherever it is, if you don't recognise the accent, it's because it's a bad one. But let me just say that butchery is nothing in comparison to her, that woman there. She is sort of Australia's queen of the breast amputation, neutering children, puberty blocking children. She is what the sexual function she can't steal isn't worth talking about, quite frankly. So we're going to look at this particular woman. But before we do, I was privy to a conversation. I don't know if you've heard this, but I am always right. Always right. And there's one thing I'm really right about, and that's people I have funny feelings about. So if someone kind of makes me a little bit prickly, it usually means that they are dodgy. And there is one such person in this movement who seems to be bringing more people into the old dodgy arena. And totally unconnected, there was a conversation between Cara Dansky and Stella O'Malley. And can I just say, Stella O'Malley refused to have that conversation with me, the conversation about pronouns. And I don't think it was just because what Stella wanted to do is rant about something completely unconnected in a really bitter, unprofessional kind of throw your whole organization down the Swanee type kind of thing. I don't think it was that. I think it's just because she can't defend herself when somebody's kind of straight talking and a little bit less polite, maybe. Because I really don't have any patience left, as I'm sure you're all aware. So there was a conversation. There was a man, two women who are activist campaigners, another man who's a filmmaker, and a woman who is a psychologist and does everything through a lens of psychology, but except her organization that's not psychologists, but everything else is psychology. And when I defend my position, it's through the lens of psychology, but my organization is not through the lens of psychology. And in a slippery way, you can't actually tie me down to psychology or not psychology, or with psychology are responsible through psychology. Anyway, so there's a panel, and what happens is the thing that happens in psychological experiments, the thing that makes me a little bit maybe not so malleable is that I don't mind being the person in 1 in 5. I wouldn't mind being the 1 in 5 that says no, that says something is a lie, that refuses to go along with it. I don't actually mind being that person. Most women can't do it. Most women don't do it. Most people don't do it. It's not just a male and female thing. A lot of people will refuse to do that. To be the unpopular one at the end who says no. Actually, no, don't do that. No. So this man who is a filmmaker, I don't know. I think I know his name. I don't know his name. I don't want to say his name just in case it's not his name. And he's talking about, bearing in mind he's supposed to be on our side. When he made a film in 1999, and he uses terminology like incredible, wonderful, pioneering trans woman called April someone, and how everyone said she, but everyone knew that April wasn't really a woman and April was a man. And this new narrative is that they're all so very clever that they can say both that someone is a man, but also use she, her pronouns. Why they would do that? They haven't really said why they would do that. They haven't even gone as far to say it would be polite or, nothing. There's no good reason why they offer that they would say that, but they say that they would say that. And whilst he's praising and kind of bigging up the place in history that this particular April bloke occupies, he then says about she and 1999, and it just occurs to me, because he's a gay man, just occurs to me, you're part of the narrative and the creation of narrative that got this shit in the first place. And what I watch is these two women who are supposed to be very strong advocates, would tell you they're very strong advocates, are nodding. Everybody's nodding along with this man like he's just said something profound. Like he's just said something that makes so much sense. I just want to clarify the argument. I want to reduce the argument down to something that each and every one of you totally understands in a very simple form. Not because I think you're stupid, but I think these arguments aren't particularly complicated. And what these people like to do, what the managerial class, because I really don't think they're anything more than that. What the managers like to do, not the leaders, the managers, what they like to do is they like to pretend to you that it's really complicated why they can use the language, but you can't use the language. And maybe some people can't use the language, but they can hold two ideas in their very extraordinary brains that maybe you can't do. And their two ideas is that is both a man and that you would use she, her pronouns. Now, when you are a public facing person who's put yourself out as some sort of leader, that you are some sort of spokesperson, that you accept invitation to speak on panels in place of other much more qualified people, that you accept your position as somebody that is some sort of expert, that you go and talk about these things, that you host events and talk about these things, and people will look up to you. What you have then is a responsibility that you bloody well understand that just because you can hold two ideas in your very exceptional heads, a lot of people listening to you will not know that there are two ideas going on when you use that language. They don't know that you're smugly satisfied with yourself thinking that you know that that's a man you're talking about because you've said it once when you said she. So you know that is. What wouldn't you be clever enough, in your very large brain to understand that there's a lot of people listening that might think when you have said this person is a man at the beginning of your she, her, she, her, she, her, she, her fest, that you might actually mean that they are born female and now identifies as a man, but you're using the correct sex pronouns for them. That's what they might think. It surely, if you're so clever that you can hold both one idea and another at the same time, surely you understand why really clinically clear messaging, in order to let everybody else know what the truth is absolutely essential. And anyone not doing that is full of shit. It's just plain and simple. It's full of shit. In addition to that, the idea that free speech is at all threatened because you lie to people and you're a coward and you use cowardly language. That's the reason we got into this. The reason we got into this is someone goes, well, actually, like, where would you put April? If April went to prison because April looks like a woman, but April didn't. April looks like a woman. Um, and so where would we put them? I understand, yeah. And all this. No. If all of you had just been a little bit honest right from the start, this would never have happened. So please don't sit there in front of a very impressionable, um, moderately stupid audience and panel and telling them for them to applaud you that actually you can do these things, so it's all right. Because it's not all right. It makes a mockery of all the sacrifices that women have had. Um, we have now the situation in Scotland where women literally will be criminalized for the crime of misgendering. So if women call men men and use he him pronouns, there is a threat of that. There are girls in schools that can't say it. There are children actually in schools who can't say he him. So please do not sit there and accept invitations to speak on behalf of women, vulnerable women and girls, and at the same time tell everyone it's not really a big deal if we capitulate some of the language. I just felt that need to be said. Right. Before we move on to the butcher, the faker, and the moneymaker, if you would like to uh, very quickly get one of these in the United States of America, we have got them on offer for $50. So this is an ivory unisex fit. I'm wearing a small with gold foil, but it also comes in red. I want to say black, maybe white, but they come in other colors anyway, and just normal gold. In the UK, it's the female tracksuit is £85. F for female tracksuit. So that'd be you can find some options on there. That's reduced by £35. And if you want one of these lovely hoodies that I'm wearing, we got it here for just £50. Now, this is how we do stuff here. This is how we do stuff at Let Women Speak. This is going to enable me to travel across Europe and across the country and into the United States of America and frequently to London to make sure that as many women as possible have a chance to speak. And not just have a chance to speak, but have a chance to be heard, and find herself in a community of women where she is valued and she doesn't have to pay to listen to someone because she can speak her own words all by herself. Fancy that. Okay, let's have a look at this. I've decided to do Australia because obviously today is the day that I filed against John Pasuto the defamation suit against John Pasuto in Australian federal court for all the despicable things he said.
I remember turning around when we were walking, there's a big black cloud coming, and I thought, oh, we'll be all right. I've always wanted to be a mum.
Rain. Rainbows.
I've got 2 children. There's Sylvie, who's 13, and Lewis, who's 10. They're very different children.
And Sylvie wanted fish and chips.
How long did we have to walk to get the fish and chips? Another half an hour. Kids give so much to you, and I love the way they're so frank and so honest. But it was worth it, wasn't it? If Sylvie or Lewis came home one day and said that they were trans or that they wanted to transition, I think as a parent I'd be very worried for them.
But as a surgeon, I'd be thinking about all that bloody money I could make, I tell you.
How they might be treated in the world, how they're going to go at school, are they going to have trouble being discriminated against in terms of jobs?
Are they going to be infertile? Are they going to lose their sexual function? Are they ever going to actually make an intimate relationship because they won't be able to actually have intimacy with anyone? Is it going to be dangerous for my daughter to wear a binder? Would I change her name? Would I be an absolutely abhorrent, abusive parent if I just went along with it even in the first place and let them believe that there was ever a thing of actually changing sex? So, you know, it would be tough.
What I've learned from looking after trans kids is that
They don't exist. Yeah, that's right. I just make a shit ton of money, mate.
despite the fact you want to do absolutely everything you can to protect them, actually the best way to protect them is to allow them to be themselves.
Yeah. And what we say when we say be themselves, what we actually mean is cut healthy body parts off, tell them that they are born in the wrong body, and start a really lucrative relationship with all of them, because you can't butcher happy, well-adjusted kids, can you?
Michelle's work at the Children's Hospital has not been without controversy. It's new and it's something that some people don't understand.
Yeah. Those parents that want their children to grow up intact, they're just bigots and stupid people, you know?
There have always been critics. You don't go into this area of medicine without being warned about becoming a target, and I've certainly made myself a very big target.
But I'm a narcissist and I don't mind at all. As long as I'm getting the attention, I just, as long as I can cut those breasts off, make those kids infertile, I'm like happy as Larry, mate.
I really don't understand the criticisms of Michelle, and no child would ever choose to do this. It's really hard.
No, your parents choose, unfortunately. Little boy, your parents choose. And you may get away with this at whatever age you are, but come 25, you're not going to fool anyone. Very, very sorry.
To be a trans kid.
At one point, I thought Michelle might stop her work, and I thought,
We were all like, we had a party, it was planned, we had friends coming in from out of state. Oh my God, we were just so ecstatic. We were like, is she going to stop butchering kids? And then, she said
she
no.
might break and just decide that she'd had enough.
Nothing could stop her cutting off those tits, though. Once she started, she was like a frenzied, crazy.
I've never felt that Michelle would cave in. This is a girl at 16, was standing on a beam,
with a body that worked, body. She had a body that worked and she used because, she understands how important bodies are, but not for the kids, her patients, right? She hates
doing
them.
ridiculous physical feats. She's used to pressure, but there's no option. You can't not fight. You can't give in.
I don't think
How the fuck would we get this house? You know, if we gave in, like, what would we do? I just don't know. We wouldn't have such nice cars or
it's a
nothing.
wise idea to ever underestimate Michelle Telfer. Michelle Telfer has learned from a very young age discipline, poise, strength, flexibility.
Knife skills, manipulation, fixed messaging. She's learned some sort of trauma and abuse of her own body to get it as fit as it was. So, you know, what can you say about Michelle Telfer? She'll cut the tits off of anyone if you pay her enough, right?
Character that she has
Evil.
came to the fore.
Nothing says a perfectly balanced program about the dangers of child transitioning than numerous black and white photos of the surgeon while she does a bit of gym work.
I was 5 when I started gymnastics as just a kid in the suburbs of Perth.
She didn't have a penis though, so
Michelle was a bit of a surprise athlete for me. When I picked her up at first, there were numbers of other girls who I thought were much more physically talented than her. But she just kept on working hard.
is this a little puff piece? Because I think this is ABC. ABC, I recently sent a concerns notice to about defamation. Seems like they're fully on board the old trans loony
You could
train.
just see the determination behind her, a bit steely in a way.
I just loved it. I love the physicality of it. I love the artistry of it. It never bothered me that I wasn't the best or the strongest or the quickest.
But in many ways now I'm taking revenge, cutting up kids. So there's nothing really deep down wrong and bitter and evil about me. I just never bothered me not winning. I didn't want to be the best. There's no revenge, nothing. No, nothing. Nothing for me.
Individually, I want to make it to the 1992 Olympics. That's the far goal.
First up, Michelle Telfer for Perth.
I just turned 16 when I went to the Auckland Commonwealth Games.
Cast a handstand.
Oh, so no one blocked her puberty then? No one stole her fertility, did they? Kah, lucky girl.
To catch it. Well performed.
It was an extraordinary experience for her, and she won a bronze medal on the uneven bars.
Nice touch. One time.
I was 18 when I retired from gymnastics. That was at Barcelona, and then went back to school to finish year 12 that year.
She had missed a lot of school, but she sat her final examinations and absolutely sailed through them.
About how much I love my work and
To be
about
Just skipping on.
I first met Angus at a 30th birthday party.
I'd been hosting a concert for a friend and, showing off on stage.
You need any brekkie?
Actually, I've got clinic.
My main job is as a high school teacher and I conduct an ensemble at Victorian Opera.
I saw him speaking in Japanese and singing opera, and I was really
And I was like, if I need someone to back up, poisoning kids,
quite
that's the guy.
taken.
She instigated everything. She said, let's go for a drink. And we got on very well. Obviously, there was a connection.
Is that cooked up? Okay. Do you want that?
The issue came up about how much I love my work, and I've never really been sure how I was going to make it work to have children and have my career continue.
Your little gourmet child.
And he responded by saying, I'll stay home and look after your children.
I get to be a trophy husband and, bask in her success.
I'm a trophy husband, and she takes trophies from kids, body parts or trophies, much the same.
Right, be good, make sure.
I find actually a lot of people are often jealous that I've been working part-time or spending more time with the kids.
All right. See ya. All right.
2012 was a really big turning point in my career. I came back from maternity leave and I took this full-time job as the clinical lead of adolescent medicine at the Royal Children's Hospital.
So I just had my healthy kids. I just learned what a woman's body can do. And then I was appointed as quite a amazing job running all children's health. And you know, I made a good go of it. I'm certainly changing the lives of some kids, you know. They won't have any children. They won't have any sexual pleasure. It's a psychopath's day, you know. It's a great job for someone who feels like this about everything.
In the system.
Michelle leads a team of 50 people and the services are very broad. So she looks after young people who are in hospital with eating disorders or self-harm.
But she's so stupid, she can't cross-reference and see the similarities and the parallels. Instead of that, she cuts her tits off.
They also have an outreach medical service where they look after marginalised and homeless children. Has had really strong fit.
And that's a fast track, you know. A lot of them we bring into the whole trans quite easy. And in the anorexia ward, like all of them, we see a distressed child, we can bring them right in, convince them they've got no hope. You know, in many cases, they've just got no hope at all.
Thoughts that they've been brought forward in the wrong gender. And alongside all of that, she runs the gender service.
I generally see a psychologist or one of the
That's the big
psychiatrists first. I was asked to take over this group of trans children in their care and I jumped at it.
Because I'd read so much cash. My head was spinning, mate.
Come in, Ollie. I'd never met a trans child before I started.
Nobody's met a trans child. That's the trick. Nobody has met a trans child. There is no such thing.
And one of the first children I saw was a young boy called Oliver.
Good, yeah, getting on with school
And I said to Oliver, well, how do you know that you're a boy? Like, when did you start thinking about yourself as a boy?
I haven't seen it. I'm just going to predict. Well, I haven't seen it for quite some time. I think I have seen it before. I'm just going to predict that Oliver, whatever her name is, she's going to say something like incredibly profound that makes this doctor like overwhelmed with, wow, what a great poignant moment.
And he was 10 at the time that he told me this story.
all my life, so for as long as I could remember, anytime I had a birthday, or even like if someone said, what would your 3 wishes be with a genie? Anytime I had like blow out the candles or anything like that, I'd always wish that I would be a boy. That would be.
And nobody thought to ask why. And because it was a childhood thing that I wished for, and I wished it every year, I placed an incredible amount of meaning into that rather than understanding that there might just be something very simple going on in my life. What happened is my parents are useless and the doctors make a shit ton of money out of me. So no hope. And now I'm on testosterone, waiting for me vaginal atrophy so that I can have my radical hysterectomy and then be a little closer to cancer and Alzheimer's and chronic depression and anxiety for my entire life.
My birthday wish.
It was such a beautiful story.
That I thought nothing of it whatsoever. I didn't look into it at all.
And I thought, I can help. I can help.
And what I did is I just looked Molly in the face and said, well, you're not a boy. That's ridiculous.
Help this child have a boy's body. And how many people?
How many people can do that? No one can do that. That child can never have a boy's body. What an absolute batshit crazy thing to even suggest. I can
do that.
Jesus. You can't do that. You can't help anyone have the body of the opposite sex. It's actually impossible. You can't even make it look like it. I mean, maybe if you were like 3 miles away and you had misty glasses, could you slightly make someone pass? But that girl will never have a boy's body. This is like Australia's leading answer to any voices of dissent. This is the woman who they look to because she could do the splits, I think. This is the woman they look to. This is her. This is her revenge.
And the idea that that was even remotely possible.
It's not. It's not remotely possible. There is nothing about any of this that is remotely possible. Never, not ever, never. In your lifetime, most certainly, you'll never have a working penis. You'll never really feel like the boy you believe you are.
It was just incredibly exciting and almost overwhelming to me because that was something that I had dreamt of for as long as I could remember, you know.
These sort of kids' fantasies that they build into some sort of meaningful narrative are bizarre. It's so weird. It's so weird. We've gone from 1970s, 80s, even 90s of not believing children where they say they have been systematically raped, not believing a word they say, to believing everything they say, not just believing it, but giving it absolute meaning, which is nuts.
And have you had any problems with the injections?
No, not really. You know, become pretty routine now.
With the consent of both of Oliver's parents, he went on to start testosterone treatment at the age of 15.
We've got
Gross.
an appointment later this year.
But we don't provide any surgery. To access surgery, one has to enter the adult system, and that only occurs once someone's over the age of 18.
But by then, we've really convinced them, we've helped them. You know, they don't really have a choice of surgery once they've worn those binders and taken the drugs that we give. So we may not actually hold the knife. We may not hold the knife. I think she does, though. We may not hold the knife, but we certainly put the knife into the surgeon's skin and help into the surgeon's hand and help those incisions.
I remember when you were little, you really didn't like...
I did not like needles, no. Well, I'm 18 now. I'm in my final year of high school. I'm hoping one day to study medicine, become a cardiothoracic surgeon or something similar. I'm really optimistic about my future. I have huge ambitions.
Because you've been lied to. That's why. You're really optimistic about your future because you still think that there is a penis at the end of the rainbow, and there just isn't. There isn't.
I want to do a lot of good in this world, and I think that, you know, I wouldn't be in that place. I wouldn't be able to have those dreams if I didn't receive support from Michelle.
But they're only dreams. I just, how sad is it? Look at this girl. She wished, so the reason she knew she was a boy is that she wished that she was one on her birthday. Like that was it. If there was something more to that, if there was some other backstory to this, and I think we would have been told it because it might have been actually interesting. So it's just so, you know, well, she said that she wished she was a boy on her birthday, like on her 10th birthday. She remembers doing that. Like, oh, wow, really? I mean, I probably used to wish that Simon Le Bon was my husband. But it's weird because nobody ever thought that meant that I actually was Simon Le Bon's wife.
Come in, everyone. Grab a seat.
Michelle came home and said, oh, you know, I've started seeing these trans kids. And that hit a perfect storm of trans care becoming a much more public thing, together with Michelle's
perfect storm. God, we paid off the mortgage in about 2 years. It was amazing. The kickbacks, the everything. Oh, it's so much money. It was amazing. And my wife already thought she was God, but by the end of this, she was, oh my God, she was like 3 gods combined. She was a proper, wow. Like, so, we were so happy as a family. I now just work half an hour a week.
Extraordinary ability to organise things and get people together.
Thanks everyone for coming in to our multidisciplinary gender team meeting.
And so the service exploded and the number of kids seeking assistance.
Last year there were 473 new referrals.
Oh my God. Get ready for it, kids, because I'm so excited because whilst the narrative is that these kids are really distressed and upset and heard about everything, whilst that is the case, I'm so delighted there's more of them. I feel like we're really getting somewhere.
That was 2020. And in 2019, there was 336. And it's a struggle, obviously, to fit everyone in. Of the hundreds of young people that come to our service, more than 20% never go beyond that first assessment. Mental health clinicians through Headspace can. We've helped them to understand that it's okay to have behaviours that are not consistent with what we would expect.
But the others, oh my God.
Stereotypically of being a boy or being a girl, but that doesn't mean that they're trans.
Certainly now really keen to get some face-to-face appointments going again.
For those who do feel that medical affirmation is necessary for them, they'll see a mental health person, either a psychologist or psychiatrist, at least 3 times.
Oh my God, 3 times? Shit. I didn't realise it was that difficult to get onto the drugs. 3 times. And what's really great for those kids is all those therapists are captured. You know, they're all, if they at all suggest that those kids are not trans, we just get rid of them.
Before they see anyone like a paediatrician or an endocrinologist who might start to consider whether a medication is going to be something that will help them. So the time taken from the time of referral to even get...
I'm not going to talk through this if I can because it's gross.
Getting to the paediatrician now is about 2 years. Well, hi now.
Hi, how you going, Michelle?
I love working with these kids.
One thing I'm going to ask you to do, because the dad is obviously a pillock, and look, I'm aware that I hold mothers to greater responsibility for children than I do fathers. And that's because I do genuinely think we are. I don't have a lot of patience for women who stay in situations where their children are at risk because they don't have the stamina to leave. And I know, look, it's terrible. It's terrible. But once that is impacting your child, I'm afraid it's no for me. But I want you to watch mothers in particular because often they're very gleeful about these sorts of situations with doctors or where people are talking about their child being trans and so on. It's really quite gruesome, but I think it's worthwhile to watch just how excited this mother is. Now, I might be wrong. She might not be, but I bet she is.
Because they are incredibly brave. They're actually coming to us in a situation which we know is very difficult for them.
I just said to my mum that I didn't want to be a boy. I felt like a girl. And
nobody thought to ask this boy why. Nobody. It's just so disgusting.
That I'm sick of living in this body.
So, Isabel, do you have any questions for me?
How does the hormone blockers work?
Well, it fucks you up forever, makes you infertile, actually stops any sexual development of your sort of external genitals at all. It makes you out of kilter and out of step with all your peers. What it does is by the time you're 16, your penis will still be the size of a 10-year-old's. So if you do carry on and still think that you're a girl, and let's face it, by that point, it'll be almost virtually impossible to desist. If you do say that, we might take some of your asshole to make a fake vagina, which you'll need to dilate for about, 4 hours a day, and you'll have no life at all. Is that something at 10 that you feel you can consent to? Is that something that you can actually do? Like, can you comprehend the fact that you'll never have an orgasm? Do you know what an orgasm is? I mean, you probably don't, but it's quite a nice thing. Are you okay about giving that up forever? Should we just ask your mum and dad about that? Are they okay, mum and dad? Yeah, because I don't fancy my husband anymore. I don't even have sex, so I couldn't give a shit if anyone's having sex ever again in their lives. And what about you, Dave? No, I don't care either. Let's put all the responsibility on our 10-year-old because I'm not man enough to actually stick up for myself. I can barely make a cup of tea.
That is a very good question. When I first met Isabel, she was a young girl who was pre-puberty, and she had, as many trans young people do, a fear of going into puberty, where suddenly...
As many kids, not trans, as many kids do. Many bloody kids.
She would masculinise if we didn't provide any care. Now, the good thing about this drug is it gives you time to think about what you want to do in the long term.
Listen to me. I'll tell you what I perfected over the years is the ability to look a vulnerable kid in the face and lie. Like really lie. Not little lies. Not like, yeah, the tea's going to be hot. Not those little lies. Not like, I'm pretty sure I saw a kangaroo ad in the car park. No, big lies. Life kind of changing, massive, fat, kind of huntsman spider lies.
Without you having to worry about your voice dropping or getting hairy or any of those sorts of things.
Even the getting hairy, come on, look at that kid's face. Like, what a gruesome, gross, vile woman.
Isabel was very clear about what she wanted to do and what she needed.
Isabel then said that she wanted to take over the family's mortgage, and so we got an advisor in, and now she is. And also, you know, we felt when it came to hospital policy on some of our cancer wards, you know, Isabel was informed. Like she'd read a whole Peter and Jane book about it, or Chip and Biff, or you know, whichever books you want, like a you know, a dummy's guide to running a hospital, and we've allowed her to actually take over the entire unit.
Was puberty blockers. So we went through the risks and we went through the benefits. Puberty blockers are reversible.
Look, I know we've had the WPATH files, and apparently, we now know that the WPATH knew about it all along. You'd have to be a blind, deaf and dumb person, moron. You'd have to be a complete and utter moron who had never read a book, who had never met a human being, who'd never lived past and through puberty, and who didn't know anyone that ever did. You'd have to be all of those things in order to not know that puberty is really important, and using puberty blockers to stop it is really freaking dangerous.
The only risk is that it can affect your bone density. If you decided a couple of years' time, so you're 11 now, say you were 13, 14 or 15, and you thought, you know what, I don't want to be a female, I'm going to go back to being Campbell, then we can stop the Zoladex.
And what happens is your penis does 4 years of growth in about a week. Yep, 100%. 100, like definitely 100%. And all the other stuff that you missed, like we can basically put you back in exactly this time. Like go back in time, and nothing will have happened to you at all. And that's completely true.
That won't happen, surely.
No. You know, I don't think that will happen either. But if it does...
It won't happen. Do you know why, Campbell? Why it won't happen is because your mum and dad are morons. Your doctor is a sociopath. Your therapists are also have delusions of grandeur. And everybody around you and your entire company are cowards and weak. And so, no, it won't happen. Because you'll probably regret it when you're loads older and when you're sort of morbidly obese and suicidal and manically depressed, like Jazz Jennings. So no, it won't happen for a while. Won't happen until it's absolutely too late.
Happen, we can stop this drug and your body goes back to how it would have been.
Absolutely no evidence for that assertion. I was good at doing the splits. I'm pretty good at lying now.
So what that did for Isabel was give her time to get older, really, and to mature cognitively and emotionally.
Yeah, do you know what other subjects you've got for next semester?
So that when the time came to making decisions about hormone treatment, so estrogen, which would have irreversible effects, she'd be competent.
Oh, Campbell. Oh, dear Campbell. What have you done?
To make that decision on her own. Before they were prescribed for Isabel, both parents had to agree to the treatment.
But we'd groomed them. Really, oh my God, it was great. And the mother was, you know, an attention-seeking narc. And she really would have done anything to... We didn't examine trauma or anything. What might have happened to that kid? No.
So I'm turning 18 later this year. I'm doing my final year of high school and VCE, which is pretty exciting. I just feel like...
There's many boys like him that have had their puberty blocked that actually do quite well in the way of passing. But not once they get to 23, 25, 27. I'm watching my own sons and what they look like at 18 and how much they sort of really, really fill out over the next sort of few years and thicken around the waist. Their shoulders thicken, their skulls get bigger. You just can't change that. And all along, so this boy has still got, probably has taken cross-sex hormones. So now, imagine this. You're 18, you call yourself by a girl's name, you have breasts, and then you have a prepubescent penis in between your legs that you have been told that there is a vagina at the end of this rainbow. And then you have some surgeries which are going to be the least successful of all surgeries because you don't actually have enough penis to make into a proper fold of a vagina, which you can't anyway because they never work. But just go with me on the fact that this is the most terrible of all surgeries. That children have had no puberty. So he as an 18-year-old boy with a penis, he probably has never had an orgasm, never had a sexual thought. And just those two things going through puberty bring you out the other side is slightly different. So he's not had any of those experiences. So that's why when he talks, if you say he passes for about a 15-year-old girl because he sounds incredibly young. He won't have points of reference like everyone else. It's so barbaric.
A normal kid, which I am. I'm thinking of maybe doing politics, economics, and philosophy. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have Michelle and the RCH with me.
You'd probably be a happy little boy or a happy grown man by now. That's where you'd be. You would have just been told that it's not possible and you would have learnt to actually accept the fact that you aren't a girl.
Their behaviour. I think I'd equate a large part of my being alive at the moment to them.
There were really dark times for Isabel and where her mental health wasn't great and, she really struggled. So getting the right treatment for her was critically important. I think it has made all the difference. Can
you imagine if we took away, right? I know that some older women claim that they thought they were boys, but there wasn't really... There wasn't this thing that you could be a boy. So no matter how much you thought you should have been a boy or that you were a boy, there was no adults, there was no medical community saying that you could be a boy. So for this girl, for this boy, there was no language in the 1970s and 80s that made him think for a second that he could change sex. So I don't think there was the depression and anxiety around it. Now, I'm prepared to be wrong, but I know that I'm bloody right. Because I've heard women say, I really thought I was a boy. I was desperate to be a boy. But there wasn't this kind of depression, anxiety, or anything else tied up with it because it wasn't possible. It's like saying, my child thought they could fly, thought they should be able to fly, thought they would be able to fly, thought they could be able to fly, but there was no other adults around saying, hey, do you know what? We can get you some wings, which then causes the anxiety, depression, and whatever, because you want to, if somebody tells you can have something and it's possible, the desire to have it then can make you all sorts of things. But I just wonder if that's the little piece here.
In terms of who she is today.
And what about your estrogen?
Yeah, good. It's just a very thorough process. If you aren't actually trans, the hospital will figure it out.
You aren't. You aren't. There's no such thing. Sorry, but you aren't.
If the child maybe is confusing their feelings or something else, they'll figure it out. For me specifically, it felt like the hardest thing. Like I had to re-explain myself all the time, reaffirm and prove myself to everyone. So
I thought about it constantly, which made me reaffirm it to myself, which made me reaffirm it to everyone else, because I knew I had to keep proving it. I couldn't relax. I couldn't, for a moment, just take a step back, because I was on that train.
often, if at any moment I thought maybe I'm not trans, I would have stopped. It's one of the scary things about
I was a child, so what sort of responsibility would that be?
The diagnosis of gender identity issues in young people is certainly a complex area, and that's because adolescence is a time of great change. In the UK, there's been a lot of attention from a case that have arisen out of one of the big UK centres, the Tavistock Clinic, and that has brought attention to young people who have transitioned during adolescence, teenage years, who then become very distressed and change their mind and wanted to detransition.
At 16, Kira was desperate to be a boy. She was given drugs to delay puberty, then male hormones. Kira believes it was a mistake.
The discussions were very brief and there was no real investigation into why I had gender dysphoric feelings.
I think inevitably we will see some of those cases in Australia. My concerns about the explosions in presentations is that we don't have adequate resources, and young people will go to other areas, and that may be hormonal therapies on the black market, or to practitioners who do not work within that multidisciplinary framework. And young people may get wrongly diagnosed. So I absolutely support the need for units like the one run by Michelle Telfer that provide the appropriate multidisciplinary care that is accessible and that is accountable.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there because we're 52 minutes in. So let me just say, that's really interesting. The fact that there is an organisation, even that woman who sees the danger, there's still this idea, rather than going to your GP or going to a regular therapist and saying, hey, my kid thinks there's something, and being told, hey, no, they're not, because there's no such thing. There are people that want to generate money and kudos and ego and career and legacy on the basis that there is such a condition as gender dysphoria, and that there might need to be a different model. There might need to be another way of treating it. And I say to them, here's the way of treating it. Hi, no, you're not. This is just an outlet expression of trauma, just like any other expression of trauma. It's not true. You need to stop focusing on that. We need to get all this shit out of schools, and we need to stop enabling any child to think that they are trans, and we are not going to use any of that language. But does that such a thing exist? No, it does not. It does not. Okay, if you can keep speaking up, even though, like me, it makes you very unpopular, then I promise we will win. If you want to visit us at letwomenspeak.org and join up, you can become a member. You can become a member of Locals. If you send us, we have a brand new system that will bring you into our little nesty fold as soon as humanly possible. So if you've been waiting for a response, we now have a system that works for us and hopefully for you. If you can do that, I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.